Hello and welcome to this induction session for the standard, it's there, improvement leader. So my name is Stephen Davis, I'm going to be your lecturer and you'll see me in lots of other presentations moving forward. So let's get started. So you may be watching this on YouTube and thinking, what's this? Well, if you're watching this, ideally you have been enrolled as one of my students onto an apprenticeship standard. If you're not and you think, oh, I like the watch of this, by all means, reach out to us and we'll tell you how you can join the program. So let's get started. So what is an improvement leader? Well, an improvement leader is responsible for developing improvement strategies, providing leadership and improvements for the business. It can be a role where you're coaching or supporting specialist advice after analysing certain data. The improvement leader typically reports to board members such as heads, directors, or to senior management teams, or indeed improvement specialists. They normally work on particular projects, so they normally have a focus, they normally have clear aims and objectives. So, for example, they normally work on a top level looking at the values, making sure that their stream maps to identifying improvement opportunities and looking at projects and making sure that those projects are delivered timely and making sure that everyone's involved within that process. So measuring, monitoring, quality improvement as such. Now, this is a level 6 standard, so it's a degree equivalent. It's classed as a degree, non-degree qualification because technically you don't get a degree at the end of it. But what you do get is your level 6 standards on an improvement leader there. So looking at some of the typical roles and responsibilities here, you're going to be in a position for developing and improving strategies for leadership improvement across the business. You'll be developing processes, you'll be looking at resources, you'll be looking at support and improvement strategies and developments of guidelines to review those policies and review them. You're going to be involved in teaching, training, coaching, mentoring, and improving those visions and values and things that you're implementing. And you'll probably do that to senior stakeholders as well. Ideally, you'll be designing and sourcing solutions for the business. You'll be leading large-scale changes, complex improvement activities around sustainability, and you'll be managing a team of improvement specialists. So you'll be looking at kind of how you're supporting that change cycle within the organisation. Now, normally the roles are found in all organisations, from cars, pharmaceutical, telecommunications, retail, food, drink, leisure, travel, councils, NHS. But very rarely do we see them in the health and social care setting. So this is quite an exciting time to bring the standard into health and social care. You don't just have to be in health and social care. You can obviously do this anywhere. That's what it's for. The idea around this is, as well, looking at that green strategy, so trying to be carbon or looking at your footprints, trying to get that down to a 0 by 2050. And again, looking at different quality assurance kite marks to manage that. So there's a lot of green initiatives involved in this. Part of what you'll cover on this, I covered in my leadership and sustainability qualifications at master level. So some of the theories that I see in this standard, I was doing at master level. So it's nice to see that they're bringing this down because I think some of the tools and systems that we learned in our masters, it's great at this level. So looking at the knowledge and skills in which you need to have. Now, your standard is slightly different to other standards. You have your skills, your knowledge and behaviours. So for your knowledge and understanding, we've got to look at strategy development. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you can see the standards in which you are going to be working towards, and then we'll look at the EPA, and then we'll look at the online material that's going to support this. So here you can see the first thing that you're going to learn are different strategy developments. Now, this is what I learned in my master's at level 7 when I did it through Cambridge University. So it's great that you've got an opportunity to look at this. So policy development and principles is a clear thing, and there's obviously lots of different tools and mechanism systems which you can use. SWOT analysis is a very simple tool. You're not really going to get many brownie points for doing a SWOT analysis. It's such a very basic screening tool. However, there is the PESTEL, and the PESTEL looks at the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and economic processes. It's a great tool. It's a lot more detailed. It's quite thorough. It's quite a robust tool. And again, as you go through there, you can see an array of different tools. And the other one we used at the end is the EC McKenzie matrix. Again, great tool, lots of processes and ability to analyze and think in those tools. So we'll look at those tools, we'll see how we can implement them, and we'll look at how you get the best out of them. The next skill set down that you need to understand, the knowledge, is the business benefits. So looking at the value, looking at the costings, so understanding what compliance looks like, so what conformance looks like, so what non-conformance looks like, so really understanding the business benefits. And that's part of that negotiating inwards and outwards and upwards. It's really important. We're going to look at team formations and leadership, so different types of teams, emotional intelligence. I think I'm probably the expert on that one now. Emotional intelligence is really important, so how you maintain your professional integrity, being supportive, looking at that neuro-linguistic programming, or the NLP techniques, and reinforcing strategies. So NLP just looks at the behavior and how we can change people's behavior. Self-development, looking at your own continuous quality improvement, looking at how you operate, looking at how you maintain your standards and how you look at your professional development is really important. Presentation reporting. So we did this quite a lot in uni when we were doing our masters, which was the single page reporting. So it's where you present and manage to get it all onto one screen, and you can just bounce off of it. So it's a great technique. And A3 thinking is a great technique as well. So you'll learn those techniques and you'll be able to apply those to your job roles. Project selection and scoping, so understand what projects look like, the scoping of those projects, and how you move those forwards. You'll look at audit measurement systems, so looking at the audit tools, different types of tools, understand inspection framework. So for example, if you're in CQC, it'll be the single inspection framework now, but looking at those different audit tools. And for example, I've got access to nearly 300 different types of audit tools just in health and social care. And there really is an audit tool for the audit tool. But that's not to become over jobs worthy with it, but making sure that if you select an audit tool, you understand its purpose, its function, and it's meaningful. What do you hope to get at the end of it? By selecting the right audit tools, you'll obviously end up with data analysis. And from that data analysis, you'll be able to look at statistics, you'll be able to look at the mean, median, and modes, you'll be able to look at trends, you'll be able to look at thematic themes. So from that, you'll be able to have a very clear idea about why you're going to do what you're going to do, or if you're going to implement change, or you're going to look at change cycle, you'll have a very clear reason or rationale to that. And then looking at the last part there, So you're looking then at the change and looking at different things around the events being balanced and unbalanced, and looking at designs and different linear models. So that's all quite exciting. We then look at the skills in which we have to do. So here we're looking at strategic deployment for continuous improvement. So that's your quality improvement cycles. So that's your self-assessment report, your quality improvement plan, your 360 approaches, how you're collecting it, how you're measuring it, how you're analysing it. Again, you'll look at the business benefits. So this is how you're selling the ideas, looking at quality, looking at the improvements, justifying everything that you're doing. Team transformational leadership, so using those tools that we identified earlier to back up what it is that you're saying. Looking at the capability around development, so reading that data, looking at different systems and structures to influence change. And again, change comes at different levels. So again, when we think about health and social care, all the mandatory training comes in around a level 2. So whether you're a manager or a director, you're still doing the same training, which clearly is not fit for purpose, because we should have different levels of knowledge and skills. Looking at the project management, so looking at if you are going to manage that project, what does that level of governance look like? How are you going to escalate? What are the risks? How do you mitigate risks? You'll review the projects and coach others. You'll obviously do that presentation, that single presentation. You'll critique your own and others' improvement reports. So again, looking at the quality improvement plans, looking at self-assessments, looking at short, medium and long-term goals. You'll identify different change management systems. You'll be able to assess them effectively. You'll be able to implement them. You'll be able to monitor them, and you'll be able to deliver results from them. The principles and methods, so clearly communicating the importance of what you've selected, understanding the tools that you've selected, and understanding how those tools work. Again, looking at project selection and scoping, understanding what your project is, how you're going to scope it, and the different systems and supports that you'll have for that. Looking then at the problems, looking at evidence-driven problems in your everyday work, looking at the voice of the customer. How do you get the voice of the customer? How's that being heard? How is feedback then fed up and fed down? You'll look at processes of mapping and analysing. You'll look at lean concepts and tools, so looking at how you can streamline functions to be more effective and more sustainable. And definitely at this point, we'll be looking at AI technology and the whole wealth of technology that's coming out for quality improvement there. Off the back of that, you've got your data acquisitions and your analysis. So once you've done your data analysis, interpreting that data is really important. So it's basic principles of research, really. You'll conduct your research, you'll gather your data, you'll be able to look for themes in that data, or you'll be able to look for trends and be able to spot something. Again, from that data, you should be able to create statistical charts and graphs. From those charts and graphs, you should be able to read them, interpret them, and then create. Processes around capability of performance, so managing those recommendations, analyze them. Root cause analysis is a great system and mechanism, so really drilling down. As I was taught, it's the forensic approach. So as we do root cause analysis, it's normally those 7 whys. So why are we doing that? Because. Okay, well, why are we doing that? Because. Well, why are we doing that? Because. And eventually, when you ask the same question 7 times, you really drill down to the root cause of the problem. And sometimes you have to feed back to kind of work that out. So if you are looking at data, you're looking at statistics, you're looking at a failed system, the root cause analysis is really important, because we need to know why it hasn't worked, what's gone on there. Looking then at experimenting, simulation, trying things out, building that support, looking at kind of those mathematical formulas to really add some weight and value to what we're doing. Prioritizing critical thinking strategies, clearly really important. You'll learn about different ways of critically thinking, critically analyzing. And I know it sounds a bit weird saying that you have to be taught how to critically think and analyze, but it is to do with your justification. So if you want a strong justification, you need to be able to understand why you're saying what you're saying and back that up with evidence. So one of the things we do really well in nursing now is evidence-based research. So it's exactly the same mechanism here. We need to know why we're saying what we're saying and what does the evidence say and why are we doing that. Looking then at failure and avoidance, again, looking at those statistical processes, and then finally benchmarking. So there's a lot more skills involved here in the quality improvement leader. And then finally then, looking at the behaviours, and behaviours are very much something that I would expect you to be doing all the time. It's not something you should just be doing to achieve a standard. It is clear within the title, quality improvement leader, that you are driving those results. You are really acting as that role model, focusing on improving the experiences of everything within the business to make sure that the cycle is complete, and obviously results are very clear. So being in charge of the KPIs, the key performance indicators, or the KPIs, the key business indicators. So really understanding what statistical data looks like and ticking that off. Team working, clearly, because you're not going to be doing this on your own. You're going to be working as part of a multidisciplinary team, trying to gather that data in. The professionalism, so again, looking at your ethics and your principles of ethics, looking at your biasness there, looking at your professional resilience, because this can be quite a grueling role, especially trying to implement change. There can be a lot of knockback there. And the way that you influence people, so it's those negotiation skills. Strategic thinking, so definitely thinking outside the box, problem solving, big picture stuff, right down to the nitty gritty, and then obviously safe ways of working. So they're your skills, your knowledge and behaviours. Now, the duration for this is between 18 months and 24 months. Entrance requirements for this qualification, because it comes up at a level 6. Typically, you should have a level 5 qualification or equivalent, but it's only a recommendation. So individual employers will set their own entrance requirements, but it does normally involve that. And what we tend to say is if you haven't got that qualification, you definitely should be working at that level. So you should be working as a manager of some kind, because ultimately, your employers put you on this program because they want the benefit from this. Now, we then go through a process. Once all of that teach and learn is done, we go through a process called Gateway. And Gateway basically means the training provider, so us, the employer, your boss, and you, we sit together and we go, right, we've gone through all this learning. Are you happy? Are we happy? Are they happy? If we say yes, we then put you forward to Gateway, and that's getting you ready for your EPA, your endpoint assessment. Ultimately, to get through the endpoint assessment, there's no on-program requirements. There's no diploma attached to this, but what you do have to have is your English and maths to pass the Gateway. So what we'll do, we'll now have a look at the assessment plan. So the assessment plan is about the endpoint assessment, and it's how you're going to be assessed at the end. So as you go through the EPA process, you're there. Now, you can see here, this is quite a nice flow chart about what's going on here. You've got your on programs, that's the teaching and learning. You'll complete your portfolio. So that's your skills, knowledge and behaviours. So you'll complete your assignments. That will be presented to the EPAO, and then the EPAO, so the Endpoint Assessment Organisation, will have a professional discussion underpinned by the portfolio of evidence. And from that, you'll be graded pass, merit or distinction. And it can take up to a maximum of 20 weeks. So here is a typical flow chart. So you've been on programme. Here it says 14 to 18 months, but in the other one it said 18 months to 24. You've got your English and maths, that's fine. Portfolio of evidence. And then you'll obviously go through Gateway, you'll do the professional discussion, you pass or fail, and you get awarded your grade. So let's just have a look at what the portfolio of evidence is so you understand what we need to do. And you can see here, you've got your English and maths. You need to have your portfolio of evidence, agreed title and scope of rationale for the dissertation with the EPO and the employer based on the development of improvement strategy of the business. So you're going to do your written assignment, and then you'll have written confirmation from the apprentice and the employer that you're satisfied that you're working at the right level. So the portfolio is relatively straightforward. We just have to prove that you've met each of those skills, knowledge, and behaviours. And down at the bottom in Appendix A, so if we go down here, Appendix A, here it tells us what we're going to use this for. So we've got our portfolio for the professional discussion and the presentation. So you can see here that where it's got a P, that's where we need the pieces of evidence for the portfolio. If it's marked with a D, then that's obviously for the discussion piece. And then you've got your grading criteria at the bottom. So if we go back, so that's fine. The above evidence must cover the range of the documents in that screenshot down below that which you've covered. The portfolio of evidence must include evidence relating to a presentation to a training session which has been developed by a non-programme phase of the apprenticeship with a level 5 learning outcome linked to 1 or 2 improvement topics. The training session must cover a selection of lists of projects and change management. You must use measurement tools. That's fine because we're going to be doing that. And again, the training material must be presented by the apprentice, must not be delivered published training materials. So you have to develop your own training materials for your presentation. The training session must be delivered to a group of level 5 delegates in their normal working environment. So again, you could be doing this for the leadership and management level 5 care. So again, if you're doing it for care managers, that's absolutely fine. You'll be mapped up against the skills, knowledge, and behaviours. So that's the portfolio of evidence. And then obviously you will have a discussion on that portfolio of evidence. After that, the EPA timescale and locations, the professional discussion underpinned by the portfolio and that dissertation, presentation and questions. So the EPA will complete a 20-week period. The EPA gateway requirements, assessment methods to be completed in order to be flexible. That's fine. That's just all of that waffle there. So the professional discussion is to last 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's a reasonable discussion time. And then the dissertation, presentation and questioning. The apprentice must produce a dissertation during the EPA period, which will be based upon the presentation of the apprentice assessor and technical expert from the apprentice employer will follow the questions immediately. So you'll be given a task. So the dissertation will be 4,000 to 4,500 words. And that's very typical of what we do. And again, you must then cover. So if we scroll right down to the bottom, you can see what you must cover. So you must cover all of those with the Ds. So you've got to do 4,500 words based on those with a D. So if we look at this, it's 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we've got 15 criteria to cover. So if you think about it, you've got to do, off the top of my head, let's just have a look. So, I don't know why that's come up with that. Let's have a look. So 4,000 divided by 15. It's about 266 words per outcome. It's not a lot. So by the time you've done it, explained it, job done. So that's relatively straightforward. So 2 assessment methods then, professional discussion and your dissertation. So no problems there. And again, you'll have lots of time to get that done. Now, you can find further information on there. When you click there, you'll be able to go to the improvement leader. You'll be able to see that. So there's no problems there. What we'll now do is have a look at the portfolio. So this is your online learning platform. So in here, you can see you've got your welcome. All you're going to do is click on the very first link. Down in the corner, you have a next button. You read this and hit next. That's it. This is your knowledge. These are your skills. These are behaviors. You read it, click next. If you need to do functional skills, so if you haven't got English or maths, this explains how to do it. Click in there, register. Oh, marker's done. Click next. And then we've talked about the endpoint assessment stuff. So English and maths, portfolio of evidence, agreed title, rationale for the improvement strategies. And then obviously looking at your portfolio of evidence and then that dissertation. So just summarizing everything we've talked about. But again, you saw the main document in detail. Hit next. And then we start. Okay, so relatively straightforward on how to use this, and you'll just work through that. As you work through it, you'll be achieving the skills, knowledge, and behaviours on a monthly basis. Now, each month or each week, I'll throw out announcements. So you just click on the announcement and reply. The assessments will look at the assessments for each module. So these will open up. So here you can see you've got a personal account to do. You just hit next, fill it in and put your answers there. Discussions will be on a weekly, fortnightly basis. We'll have discussions. Your grades go in here. So when I mark something, you'll see your grade report. So as that grows, your grades will be there. It's all calculated and weighted, so you'll have an idea whether or not you're working at pass, merit or distinction grade. People are the people in your group. Pages are all of the content of the website, of this website. Files will be all of the assessment tools that I upload in there for you. And then you've got your syllabus and modules. In here, you've got your inbox. Now, your inbox doesn't work in this one because it's a student one. It's a pilot one, so it doesn't show you everything. But it's just like a normal emailing system and with that. So it gives you an idea of how the course comes together. Just so you're aware, what happens is I can click in, I can click on people. As I click on people, for example, I can click on a learner. I've got all your grades there. And as I click on that learner, we can then look at your grades and look at your access report. So this is how many times you've accessed the system. So we can see if you're accessing the system on a weekly basis. And equally, it gives us your interaction reports. So again, I can see when you were last in and what you've been doing. So it's really important to keep up to date with this program. Again, each month we'll be covering, each month we'll be covering a couple of these points. You'll have access to the tools and materials. You'll have a video recording each week. So this is the first one, which is just the induction and the overview. And then next week, we'll be looking at strategy developments. We'll be looking at all of these different tools and systems there as part of that. And then what will happen in your portfolio. So if we go back here under Improvement Leader, up here, you will then have access to all the PowerPoints, and then you'll have access to all of the recordings as well. So as this builds, it all just builds in there. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. So I wish you all the best of luck. If you need me, you can message me internally, or alternatively, feel free to WhatsApp me. But I'm going to look forward to working with you, and I wish you all the best of luck. and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the programme. Take care. Bye for now.